Hi, it's Ghost, and welcome back. And with the imminent release of Call of Duty World War II, which is coming out in the next couple of days, I wanted to cover a few things that I sort of came across in the beta, which I wasn't a big fan of, and I really hope that they've gone through and changed it slightly for the full release of the game. I think it would really bring the game to life a little bit more and make it a much better Call of Duty. I know I probably should have done this a while ago, but yay, I was a little bit crap at doing videos back then, so I'm going to try and do it now. Just before it comes out. But the two concerns that I've got, number one was the kill streaks. Now, Call of Duty has always been a thing where kill streaks are something you've always got to work towards. There's something that you want to get, that you work really hard to get, and you kind of want to be rewarded for it. And I have to say, the kill streaks from the beta just really weren't that. They were nothing particularly spectacular. The airborne troopers were the most lackluster thing I've come across for a really high kill streak in a long time. I know they're not going to be flawless, and they're not going to be spectacular. You don't want them to walk all over a server, so that would be a little bit too strong. But in the same respect, it's an 1800 kill streak, I think, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. But it was quite a lot of kills, a lot of points to get this streak. And you had to play, well, at least I had to play a little bit more cautiously because I'm not quite as good at the game as I used to be. It took a while for you to get those kill streaks, and you didn't really get rewarded for it. I probably got them about 5-10 times, between 5 and 10 times on the beta. And each time they probably get maybe 1-2 kills. Sometimes they didn't even get any kills. And you've gone to the point of mounting this massive amount of score to get this thing, and it doesn't do anything. It's incredibly disappointing. I think part of the reason was they didn't respawn. Once the air troopers died, that was them done. I mean, there was only 4 of them and they could shoot, so they were, I suppose, in some respects more powerful than you would normally get from the dogs and things like that. But the fact that there were only 4 of them, if the enemy just focused those 4 people down, they were only AI after all, they would just die, and then there was nothing left for you to, there was no kill streak that was going to come in and get you any kills, and it died off too easily. On top of that, you had I think it was called the artillery barrage. It was quite a high kill streak as well, and it was just a sort of an area strike, and you'd send an artillery barrage on this. And it did absolutely nothing. I never really found that I ever got any kills with it. Maybe sort of 1 or 2 kills, and never really sort of amounted to anything, which was incredibly disappointing, considering it took that much, it was that big a sort of kill streak to get to in the first place. And I kind of felt that it was very reminiscent of what we'd expected from the older Call of Duties, like Call of Duty World at War and Modern Warfare, or Modern Warfare Remastered, with the airstrikes and the artillery strikes and that. It didn't feel like anything more than a 5 kill streak, and that's just a little bit disappointing. I kind of hoped for something a little bit more. Along with that was also the mortar strike, which I think I'm using in this gameplay. It didn't really do anything. You could chuck it in and it might get 1 or 2 kills, but it was still a much higher kill streak. I can't see exactly what it is. I think it's 800 or something like that. Or maybe 600. It says 600 there. I think it says 600 anyway. So it's not actually quite so high, but I think I was running that sort of hardline perk anyway. But it was a lot more kills than picking up the guided bomb or the fighter plane, which were the 2 kill streaks that I used pretty much unanimously out of all of them during the beta. I just had so much fun with them, partly for the view, the look of them. I mean, you can see the glided bomb coming in there. It looks spectacular. It looks amazing. Whereas when you call in the mortar strike and the artillery barrage, they just didn't really do anything. It was like, well, I'll pick up this map, I'll put it there. Hopefully someone will run through it. And 9 times out of 10, they didn't. And then I have to say my favourite kill streak, and it wasn't a particularly high kill streak, I think it was less than the guided bomb, was the fighter aircraft. And that was such a cool kill streak. And yes, it only got you sort of 1 or 2 kills each time you called it in, but it was so cool to call in. That's sort of there's something we haven't seen before, and it was really unique. Yes, it wasn't particularly spectacular, and you'd only pick up 1 or 2 kills, but if you ran those low streaks of what I was running, which was the UAV, the fighter aircraft, and the glided bomb, you could rep these 2 or 3 times in the same time that you'd take to get the airborne, and you'd probably end up with more kills from your kill streaks doing that than you would from these high-end kill streaks. And it was just, I really hope, in fact, that they go through this data that they've got from the betas and look at it and go, well, these kill streaks, they take a while to get. They're quite high scores. I mean, I know you get score from getting assists and capturing flags, etc., etc., etc. But that said, you still kind of don't necessarily just guarantee yourself getting these kill streaks because you're a better player. I don't know why I just said that. That made no sense whatsoever. Just because it's a high kill streak, it should actually do something. And I just didn't feel they did enough to warrant being these high kill streaks. So I'm really hoping they go through and they rectify it slightly. and we'll get something a bit more spectacular out of these higher-end kill streaks. I mean, admittedly, there were a couple of really high kill streaks that we didn't get to see. They have teased it at this sort of massive sort of chopper gunner kind of weapon or kill streak that we will be seeing in the full release of the game, and we've yet to see what that actually is going to be like, and hopefully that is something that is truly spectacular. But I really would like to see something a little bit more from those artillery strikes and from the airborne. I think they needed a little bit more panache to make them something that people would actually go for, otherwise it's just not worth really equipping them. The other big concern that I have for the game was the grenade system. Very much like when Battlefield 1 was released, the grenade system feels incredibly overtuned. It almost feels like every time you throw a grenade, you're going to guarantee yourself a kill. There wasn't ever a point where I threw a grenade towards a sort of specific choke point that I wasn't going to get myself a kill, and I feel that's a little bit too strong. Yes, I do feel that grenades need to do something. If they're too underpowered, then obviously there's no point in equipping them, and you may as well just always equip the special grenades. But in the same respect, you kind of need to have that sort of toned feature. If they are just way too powerful, it just ruins the whole sort of concept of the gunplay in the game. If you're just able to throw an explosive and kill people rather than actually shooting someone, it kind of defeats that object of the explosive. It defeats the object of a first-person shooter. You may as well just be throwing grenades the whole time, which I just don't quite I don't really like that system. So hopefully they do tone the grenades down a little bit. On top of the grenades doing an awful lot of damage, they also add the additional shock of shell shock into it, which again is a very realistic thing, but is that really something that we want to see in Call of Duty? Call of Duty in its due nature isn't a realistic shooter. It's a fun arcade shooter, so we don't want to see all this huge amount of realism. To see something like shell shock appear in Battlefield 1 would make more sense. It's a bit more sort of a realistic, it's not quite so arcadey. And I think it just adds an extra effect to a grenade that didn't really need to be there. Not only do the grenades now have an incredible blast radius and sort of guaranteeing yourselves kills, you're also adding a stun effect onto them as well, which seems, in my personal opinion, seems a bit too much. For a prime example of where I feel the grenades were way too powerful was on the map Gibraltar. If you were playing Domination or any of the objective game modes, well, the objective game modes I almost felt were completely unplayable. As soon as you jumped onto a flag, there were so many grenades that hit you, you couldn't really do anything. And unlike some previous Call of Duties where we've had blast shield and etc, things like that to reduce the grenade damage, there was nothing like that. So you couldn't really sit on the objectives without having that huge risk of dying to a grenade. And I found it very difficult to play objectives purely for that reason. But anyway, looping back to the point I was making about the map Gibraltar, was on the top spawn, if you were lucky enough to get that top spawn, as you captured your home flag, you then ran on towards the B flag, and before you got to the broken wall where you could run down and split over the bridge or down to the bottom, to get down to the B flag, you would throw your grenade towards the B flag. If you were using a frag, it would usually roll forward and go into that sort of little hut with the MG nest on it, next to the B flag, which is where everyone who was coming from the bottom spawn would be running to go and capture B. And pretty much every time you spawned in, you could throw a grenade there. If the flag hadn't been captured, even if it had been captured, people tended to like sitting in there. It was quite a good head glitch. As I said, there was an MG nest in there, and you could guarantee yourself this double kill pretty much every time you throw a grenade in there. And that just seems a little bit too powerful for my sort of thoughts of how something should work. I don't think it should kind of guarantee you this kill every time. And for that reason alone, I do think the grenade system needs to be toned down a little bit. On top of this, the current system makes one perk that the Expeditionary class completely pointless. The Expeditionary class's second perk allows you to throw grenades further and faster than you would by standard. At no point during the entire time we've been playing the beta did I go, you know what, I'm throwing this grenade really slowly and I'm dying because of it. You throw the grenades quickly, and because they can be thrown so far, you could do it before you would even enter combat, and you never really had to worry about throwing a grenade again. So I feel that class needs a little bit of a tone up and something to sort of make it stand out a little bit more than just having that Dragon's Breath, although the Dragon's Breath shotgun shells were a hell of a lot of fun to use. Now, I know some of you may be sort of questioning, why haven't I brought weapon balance in? The SMGs are incredibly dominant in this game. Why is that not an issue? And I don't feel that is an issue. Every single Call of Duty you ever play always has a more sort of dominant weapon variety. Most of them tended to be assault rifles, so hopefully with the SMGs it's going to mean the gameplay is a lot faster. The whole sort of pace of the game should be a little bit quicker if SMGs are going to be those dominant things. So I'm quite excited to see that. I will say I do feel the sniper rifles possibly need a little bit of a tone down, but for the most part I think it's a really well balanced game, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on and playing it. Especially the zombies, as they've kept that so well under wraps, I don't really know what to expect from it. And because of that, it makes you even more excited to find out what it's going to be like. But anyway guys, this video has come to a close. If you enjoyed, please leave a like rating. If you'd like to see more, subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now. Bye.